Hello and welcome to Street View. I've always been inspired by shapes, patterns and textures, and I like to look for interesting collage style scenes when I'm out shooting. Things such as stone, brickwork, painted lines, torn posters and even human body parts can be brought together to form fascinating abstract and unusual looking images. So let's take a look. Whatever you're shooting on the streets and whatever your style of photography, I would say that the one determining factor on the quality of your image is going to be the quality of the light. And when shooting more abstract scenes, I would say that this is no less important and indeed is a huge contributing factor to how good the final image will be. In this picture, the light and shade are the dominating features, and without them there is very little. The solid forms at the top of the picture are contrasted by the more organic shapes of my own shadow. I have deliberately cut off my own head to allow the block of stone behind to become a focal point. The suggestion of the human form gives some perspective to the image and also adds a slightly dystopian feel to it. I like to think of it as a little bit of cubism. Look for places that tend to capture the light in interesting ways and spend a bit of time observing how different they can look at various times throughout the day. Here, the light and shade come together to form a geometric play of lines and textures. The human figure passing through gives a sense of scale and perspective, while again providing a more organic shape to the scene. I like the use of pure whites and deep blacks in this sort of image because there is enough textural interest elsewhere in the shot to give balance. When using people in more abstract shots, you can become really creative. I love images that use seemingly disembodied human parts. Heads, hands and legs can all be used really effectively on their own or within abstract and unusual settings. This is one of my favourite abstract style captures. I was captivated by the shapes of light and shade and the curve of the bench as it swoops out. It was the most beautiful early morning springtime light, good shadows and clean highlights. The person's legs add the little bit of human interest I was after and are a good contrast to the geometry in the picture. Probably wouldn't have worked as well without the white trainers. By exposing for the highlights and stopping down by a third, I was able to get the high contrast look I wanted. This shot was inspired by some abstract expressionist paintings I'd been looking at. Without the woman's legs it probably would look overly painterly, but their presence confirms that we are out on the streets in an urban environment. Expose for the highlights for this sort of effect. Use a wide aperture for full sharpness and let your blacks be black. Tight cropping can have an isolating effect. Heads, of course, are a strong focal point, but their shape alone can act as an interesting counterpoint to the rest of the scene. Try to think of things in terms of shapes alone and see how they interact with their surroundings to form abstract patterns. The white wall is a large area of negative space, and the black strip of shadow draws the eye until it finds the floating hand holding the cigarette. The hand is gesturing, so it becomes more animated than if it was simply hanging there. The decorative shirt cuff is a nice addition. When you're wandering around urban spaces, one of the things you're sure to see a lot of is interesting surfaces. Walls, floors, doors, all in a myriad of different renderings. I love looking for torn posters, as the paper breaks up, often revealing older posters underneath. You can find some fascinating assemblages like this. It's quite easy to create abstract images using glass, not only with the reflections, but also by using the stickers and notices that have often been stuck to them as part of your composition. Light captures that are used to make people aware of the glass are particularly good at adding geometric interest. Whenever I see these, I always look at how I might be able to use them to create an unusual perspective or composition. This is just a taster of what you can look out for if you want to shoot in a more abstract and unusual way with your street photography. I always try to make a point of coming back with an abstract image or two when I'm out on my photo walks. By doing so, I believe it helps me to look for the less obvious with my pictures. I think it's a good idea to try and work the abstract look into your style of photography, because by doing so I think it helps to define your style. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think in the comments. To see more of my work, visit my website at www.rupertvandervelde.co.uk and check out my book Fine Art Street Photography, available at Amazon.